Now, you were with the unit that was responsible for the liberation of the Jews in Dachau.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience.
Okay. I was with the 522nd Field Artillery Battalion, which was part of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. And they were one of the first Allied troops to liberate the Jews from the subcamps of Dachau.
Mm-hmm.
And as I recall, we were heading south from Augsburg. And by the time we reached the camp area, the gate of the camp was already opened by our advanced scouts. And when we came around the bend, the Jewish inmates were already streaming out of the camp. And I remember they all wore same gray and black striped uniforms.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they were very hungry. They were suffering from malnutrition. And they were literally skin and bone. And many of them were carving away a strip of meat from a carcass of a dead animal that was lying along the edge of the road.
Wow.
And it was a sight that I'll never forget. And I remember we bivouacked along the side of the camp. And I remember there was snow on the ground, the weather was cold, so we built a fire to warm ourselves.
Right.
And as we were sitting around the fire, the Jewish inmates came to us for food, and we gave them our C and K rations. And that was a mistake because we heard later that they couldn't absorb the food, and many became seriously ill.
And here you were just trying to be helpful.
Yes,
right.
Yes. And it's ironic that many of us who came from the camp came across these German concentration camp and victims.
And what was your role in this? Now, you mentioned you were part of the artillery. Or,
Yes.
Uh-huh. What does that mean to somebody who's...
The combat team was made up of 4 howitzers. No, 12 howitzers. The 522nd Battalion handled the 12 howitzers to support the combat team.
But you were there. You actually have these vivid images of what, you know, the captives looked like, and,
yes.
and I guess it must really be something that's sort of a part of your memory. Huh?
Yes, and you know, we bivouacked along this edge of the camp, and we saw the temporary barracks and the barbed wire fence and so on. So that remind me of the camp that I came from.
Yeah.
And since we liberated the Jewish inmates, I thought about when were they going to release our family and our friends from our camp in the United States.
Wow, what a powerful parallel here.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like you said, here you are rescuing a group
Yeah.
that were being captive, and at the same time your thoughts were of your own family
Yes,
behind
yes.
barbed wire
Yes.
in your own United States.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, I would like to say that there was no comparison between the two camps. You know, we were in camps for the duration of the war, but then the Jewish were in there for extermination.
Mm-hmm,
So there was a lot of difference there.
Yeah.
But the reason was the same.
Which
It was
was?
because of racial discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
Because each group, in each instance, ethnic group was singled out for mass incarceration.
Mm-hmm.
Like in our case, we were at war with Japan, Italy, and Germany. And we were the only one singled out for mass incarceration. You know, the Italian and German or national were put in prison, but they were not put in the camp like we were.
And obviously we know why Japanese can be singled out a lot
Yeah,
easier
yes.
than Germans or,
Yeah,
or
right.
anyone else we were at war
Yeah.
with, right?
Yes,
You know, we just look different.
yes,
Let me ask you now, in the 442nd,
yes.
you had Japanese Americans, large numbers of them. I understand that Asian Americans were really not permitted to join the armed forces, and then the only sector of the armed forces that they could join was the Army. Is that true?
Yes, we were restricted to the U.S. Army, the 442nd, 150th Battalion, and the MIS, Military Intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And So we couldn't serve in
You
the
couldn't have gone into the Navy if you wanted
Navy,
to, or
no.
any of the other branches.
There was one person, exception rule, this person that was in the Air Force. He was a bomber. And he was the only one that I knew of that was in the Air Force.
Okay. Now, I know the 442nd received many, many honors for your acts of heroism. Tell us a little bit about, and don't be modest, okay?
Right.
What are some of the accolades that were received?
Well, the 100 Infantry Battalion and 442nd Regimental Combat Team fought in the European theater, and they became the most decorated unit for its size and length of service in history of the United States.
That makes me proud.
And they received 7 Presidential Unit citations and approximately 18,000 individual awards.
Wow.
And to name a few, there was 21 Medal of Honor, and 560 Civil Stars, 4,000 Bronze Stars, and 9,486 Purple Hearts.
9,000 something Purple
Yes.
Hearts.
Of course, there were some soldiers received 2 or 3 Purple Hearts.
Well, let's move on now, okay?
Yes.
6 decades later, how do you feel about your 1940s experience?
Well, I feel, after 60 years, I feel that I fulfill my duty as an American citizen, fighting for my country in time of needs. And I feel that it kind of opened the door for me for college education.